Welcome to Alyvix. This video tutorial will show you how to visually monitor SalesForce Cloud Edition's Service Console in depth. You can use this test case as a template for building a wide-ranging check on the responsiveness of a number of different features. Hi, I'm Charles, technical writer and video tutorial lead with the Alyvix project. This video shows how you can build a test case to visually monitor a specific SalesForce Service Console module task in depth. It showcases interaction with a number of GUI elements like menus, lists, filters, and mouse hovering. If you find this video helpful, be sure to leave a like or some comments below. You can also subscribe to the Alyvix YouTube channel, and if you subscribe, you can click on the bell to get a notification whenever we add a new video. First, let's see what the end result should look like. When we run Alyvix Robot, it will log in and begin executing the test case we give it. The test case contains scripted steps that will each match the interface and then initiate one or more interactions with the GUI elements it sees. So how do we make Alyvix carry out this sequence of steps? By building a test case using the application's own interface. Let's get started. We could start from scratch, but since we published a video about using SalesForce just last week, we already have a perfectly good test case that does all the basics, logging in and out and checking for problems with the fail and exit scripts. So instead of showing Alyvix how to log in now, we'll copy our existing test case and remove what we don't need. In this case, that's the loop and the section in the map that the loop depended on. Our first step will be to get from the landing page to the Service Console screen. This is done by clicking on the app tray icon under the Salesforce Cloud icon. If you've seen any of our test case building videos, you know the drill by heart. Use the screen grab to annotate selections and regions of interest, tell Alyvix how to interact with them, like clicking on something, give the step a name, and then set its timeout and measurement parameters. Finally, we'll add the step to the script, here by dragging it between the existing steps. The previous step opened up a menu with a list of additional modules. Since we want to enter the Service Console module, we'll select it and expand the region of interest around where it might appear, in case the list gets larger or the menu item is in a different position. We'll convert it to a text component so that it looks for the right text string. When Alyvix finds it during a run, it will click in the middle of that string, wherever it's located in our selected area. Once we've clicked on the correct menu item, we'll arrive at the Service Console module and we can start constructing the main part of our test case. Now that we're within the Service Console, we're confronted with a drop-down menu, this time for choosing a specific service task. We'll choose a reference point near the drop-down, and then use Set Point to click on it so that it opens and we can choose a specific action during the next step. The task we'll set up today is to build a test case centered on the All Open Cases task, which lets support staff look at unresolved support requests and then manage them. So our test case will focus on commonly used features for that task, such as searching, bringing up record details, and changing information, in addition to generic navigation. With the drop-down menu opened, we can now choose one of the actions and start it. This allows us to navigate to a particular task we can check. Just like we did 2 steps ago, we make a selection around the menu item we're looking for, and expand the region of interest around it so we can find it even if it doesn't appear at that exact position. Again, we convert it to a text component, set the string as a regular expression, and Alyvix will click in the middle of that selection it finds during runtime. A quick test shows we set up everything correctly, and we can go on to the next step. The next step in our task will be to choose one record to look at in more detail. We'll use 2 reference selections, and then again use Set Point to select one of the records, say the third one. We'll use this record to check performance for the rest of this test case. Our script is starting to get a bit long. This is exactly what we were able to avoid in our previous SalesForce video by using a loop. Here though, there's no avoiding it since the interface is very irregular. Although we won't show it here, you could also break your steps into sections in order to make things more manageable. At this point, the record we requested is being displayed. We're quite interested in how long this took, because requesting data is one of the most important tasks, and it will have to be retrieved from a back-end database rather than locally. So measuring the time it takes for the details to appear is a great way to see how long a user will have to wait to get the data they need. In this step, we're not just doing a check, we're also setting up another check immediately afterwards for the next step. This step serves as both a check and as a continuation of the interactions needed for the test case overall. Here we've split these 2 elements into 2 groups. Group 1, the red group, checks that the record has been retrieved, as indicated by the selections under the description field. We'll leave the measure flag set on this step because we want to see how long it took to retrieve the record from the database. The second group in green will test the next functionality, which changes the state of a record variable. In general, if you want to check that something works rather than find out how long it took, you wouldn't usually need to set the measure flag, since the fact that the test case fails is already the information we need. Sometimes a test case just needs to check that data retrieval is working properly, so you don't really change the data itself. Other times, you have to change data in order to make sure that the interface is working. Whenever you do this, you have to remember to reset the value to its original state, or else the next time the test case is run, Alyvix Robot won't be able to match the original interface. Once we've done that, let's try out the search functionality using the second group. We enter a search term password and then the special enter notation, which activates the search engine, allowing us to compress 2 steps into one. This action populates the search panel, which we'll use as the basis for our next check. From the search results, which appear underneath the search box, we'll pick the first one in the resulting list. The service console of SalesForce includes a hover-based info panel, whose functionality we can check by moving the mouse over the title of the first item. The move action, as opposed to the click action, won't select the item in the list, but when Alyvix moves the mouse to that point and then keeps it there, the system will interpret it as a hover action, and the hover panel will automatically appear, which will let us check that it popped up in our next step. Now that the details panel has popped up due to the hover, we want to check that that panel is ready. Our first 2 components locate the panel. However, it's possible that the panel structure is already part of the web page and no measurable time is needed to display it. It's also important to put content that you know is dynamically retrieved as one of the matched components, because if you only include static elements, you won't be measuring the time it takes to fill in the content of the panel, just the time it takes to show the outlines. Let's go on to the next task, support queue. We start off by finding a previous step, pressing duplicate, and re-grabbing the screen to check if we need to adjust any selections. But why? Both the Open All Cases task we already captured earlier and this new Support Queue task start off in a very similar way, where we need to choose a menu item from the same task menu. They're so similar, in fact, that instead of doing it from scratch, it's easier to copy both steps, make some adjustments, and then rename them. We may not even need to re-grab the screen. Here, for instance, our new menu entry was already visible. For a text component, we can just change the regular expression. Our final check will also include a bit of cleanup to restore the original state for the next time we run the test case. Of course, we'll check that several structural elements are there, that the drop-down menu item was successfully chosen, and that the tab header containing the ID number of our third line item is there as well. We'll use the close action on that tab to remove the record details panel. Note that if we forget to do this, the web application's built-in persistence means that the next time we open the All Open Cases task, this record details tab will still be there, and so when we run our test case, it will fail due to the changed interface. The main part of our in-depth test case is now over. We can keep the 2 logout steps from our previous test case in both the main script and the exit script, and kill the browser in the fail script. Don't forget to re-enable the original 3 steps in the main script. This test case showed how to monitor SalesForce's service console. The SalesForce test case from our last video that used a loop was more elegant, but we reused some of its steps here to save time. If Alyvix can successfully get through this lengthy test case, it's likely that every part of the web application is working. Thanks for watching this Alyvix video tutorial. Be sure to check out the Alyvix website, blog, and user guide at these links. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell to be notified when we post new videos. We also read all the comments you post below.